Well, dropping the gloves to fight an all-out trade war. President Trump slapping 50% tariffs on $20 billion worth of Canadian imports, targeting stuff like booze, furniture, even hockey sticks. The president threatening to go even further in a social media post today, promising 50% tariffs on cars, trucks, car parts, steel, if a deal isn't struck before next year. Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney vowing dollar-for-dollar retaliation, saying his country is under attack.
You're at war when you get attacked. We got attacked. We've got the reserves, we got the resilience, we've got the plan, we've got the focus. We will respond. We're going to focus on what we can control. We're going to build.
And Ontario Premier Doug Ford's criticism of the president getting personal, saying that Trump just cannot be trusted.
President Trump is the type of person that would steal your lunch money the first day. He'd steal the toque off your head the second day, and the third day he'd steal your running shoes.
White House correspondent Karen Travers joins us now. Doug Ford always has a way with words. Karen, I just had to chuckle. But let's talk about more about this threat from President Trump.
Yeah, I mean, we have the actual action he put in place over the weekend, this 50% tariff on Canadian goods that really, Kira, the White House is downplaying today. Trade Representative Jamieson Greer called it today a tempest in a teapot, saying it's really not going to have a major impact on consumers and small businesses and in the economy because it's really representing so little of the overall trade that the United States does. But Canada is very upset about this, of course, and as you noted, they have fired back and say that they will put in tariffs matching the U.S. dollar for dollar starting on September 8th. The president then this morning seems to be increasing this trade war and says it's now going to apply to cars and auto parts, but not until January 1st. And that's interesting of whether this is just a threat to try to see where they could potentially get back into some sort of negotiation, even though the White House has really ruled that out right now. They're not interested in negotiations. The president's moved forward with this punishment of Canada. But if he did go forward with that auto tariff, that would be significant. They're 25% right now on Canadian autos, going up to 50% with this threat. But really the big part there would be auto parts. That is complicated. That could be very messy because you have a back and forth over the border between the U.S., Canada, and Mexico as cars are built between these three countries.
Well, later today, we're expecting Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent to unveil these new sanctions on Iran also after Trump promised an economic D-Day. What else can you add to this?
Yeah, the president had announced this last week, but they gave no details. And we still don't have specifics from the administration, but that should be coming in about an hour. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, in an op-ed in the Financial Times, said yesterday that this will be an economic D-Day coming for Iran. And the senior administration official says that the White House is looking to expand the scope of secondary sanctions that they can put in place on countries, businesses, and entities that do business with Iran. The big question, of course, will be, do they target China, which is Iran's biggest trading partner? They buy most of Iran's oil. That will be a significant step, but no indication at this point, Kira, if that is the direction that they're going to go.
All right. Karen Travers from the White House. Karen, thanks.